The galaxy had never seen an event like this. A live broadcast was being transmitted from the Grand Peace Station orbiting Mars, a shining metal city floating in the black void. Billions of beings across hundreds of worlds were watching their screens. Today, humans and aliens were meeting to sign the first interplanetary peace treaty. At the center of the hall stood Commander Thrax, the legendary warrior of the Zarian Empire, tall, armored, with glowing blue veins under his skin. Beside him was Navy SEAL Ryan Hale, Earth's chosen representative. Calm, steady, and known for his bravery in the Terran Wars. Cameras floated in the air, recording every move. The host spoke proudly, "Let this day mark the unity between Earth and the stars." Applause thundered from the alien crowd, but Ryan noticed something strange. Thrax didn't clap. His silver eyes kept scanning the crowd, his jaw tight, his hands shaking slightly. Ryan whispered, "You okay, Commander?" Thrax didn't answer. His gaze was fixed on the cameras, on the billions of eyes watching live. The human translator's voice echoed in the hall. "Commander Thrax will now share his words for peace." Thrax stepped forward. The light hit his armor, reflecting like glass. For a few seconds he said nothing. Then, slowly, he reached behind his belt. Ryan thought he was taking out the treaty document. But when the metal glimmered, the hall gasped. It wasn't a paper. It was a plasma blade. The camera zoomed in. The entire galaxy saw the blade's glow rise like a beam of sunlight. And then, Thrax lunged. The strike came fast, straight for Ryan's chest. Instinct kicked in. Ryan moved aside, the blade slicing through the edge of his uniform. Sparks flew. The security guards screamed. Aliens ran for cover. The crowd panicked. "Turn off the broadcast," someone shouted. But the host yelled back, "We can't. It's linked to every system." The feed stayed live. Ryan grabbed Thrax's wrist and twisted hard. The plasma hissed close to his neck. For a second, the two locked eyes, soldier to soldier. Ryan could see something strange in Thrax's face. Not hate, fear. "Why are you doing this?" Ryan shouted, trying to disarm him. Thrax's voice cracked. "You don't understand. They're watching." The words made no sense, but the terror in his tone was real. He pulled away, slashing wildly. Ryan ducked under another swing and tackled him to the ground. The blade fell, rolling across the smooth floor, its glow fading. The sound of soldiers storming in filled the hall. Dozens of guards surrounded the two, aiming their weapons at Thrax. Ryan pushed himself up, breathing heavily, his burned hand shaking from the plasma's heat. The broadcast director shouted through the speakers, "We're live. Billions are watching this." Every planet could see the image. The great alien warrior pinned down by a human soldier, both breathing hard, both covered in sweat and confusion. Thrax looked straight at the nearest camera. His lips trembled. Then, with a voice that echoed through every speaker in the galaxy, he said one sentence. "They're already here." And then the feed glitched. Static lines crossed the image. The lights flickered. For a few seconds, everything went silent. No sound, no motion, just frozen faces and flashing screens. When the image returned, Thrax was lying unconscious. Ryan stood above him, confused, staring at the cameras that refused to shut off. The guards dragged Thrax away, but Ryan could still hear his final whisper, "Not your enemy, not today." The words sank deep into Ryan's mind as the broadcast finally cut to black. Across the galaxy, people replayed the scene again and again. News anchors screamed. The words "live assassination attempt" flashed on every screen. But deep inside, Ryan knew this wasn't an assassination. It was a warning. And whatever was coming next had just begun. The moment the broadcast cut off, chaos broke loose inside the hall. Security drones hovered in panic, alarms screamed through the station, and alien diplomats shouted in dozens of languages. The peace summit had turned into a battlefield. Ryan Hale stood still in the middle of it all, his chest rising and falling, eyes fixed on the spot where Commander Thrax had fallen. The plasma blade lay beside him, still glowing faintly. Its light flickered against Ryan's face like a warning. Guards dragged Thrax away, his armor cracked and smoking. The alien's breathing was shallow, his silver eyes unfocused, but still alive. Ryan followed, ignoring the shouts behind him. He wanted answers. "Lock down the station," a voice barked from the intercom. "No ship leaves orbit until further notice." The great metal doors sealed shut. The sound of magnetic locks echoed through the hall like thunder. Journalists tried to push through, waving their cameras, desperate for footage. Ryan pushed one aside. He had no time for questions. He finally caught up with the guards, escorting Thrax down a narrow corridor. "Let me see him," Ryan ordered. "Sir, he's under arrest," one guard said firmly. "I don't care. I need to hear what he was trying to say." The guard hesitated but stepped aside. Ryan crouched near Thrax's stretcher. The alien's breathing was rough, his blue veins pulsing weakly. "Why did you attack me?" Ryan asked quietly. "Was it your plan or someone else's?" Thrax's lips trembled. It wasn't an attack," he whispered. "It was the only way." "The only way for what?" Ryan pressed. Thrax opened his eyes and looked at him with pure fear. "To warn you." Before Ryan could ask more, the lights above flickered again, the same static pattern from the broadcast. Then, without warning, every communication device in the hall buzzed with the same broken voice. "Unauthorized transmission. Detected. Initiating silence protocol." The guards froze. One by one, their headsets went dead. The holographic lights dimmed. Ryan's instinct screamed danger. "Everyone step back," he shouted. The corridor's walls shimmered, then exploded outward. A blinding blue flash tore through the hallway. Ryan threw himself over Thrax as fragments of metal and glass flew in every direction. The impact shook the entire station. When the smoke cleared, 3 guards were down, their armor melted. Ryan stood up slowly, coughing. A hole now gaped in the side of the corridor, leading to open space beyond the shield field. He pulled Thrax to safety and shouted into his communicator. "This is Commander Hale. We've been attacked from inside the station. Repeat, internal breach." No response. Just static. Thrax groaned. "They found me. They're watching even now." "Who?" Ryan demanded. "The ones behind the treaty. They needed me to be the villain." Ryan frowned. "You mean this whole peace event is not peace?" Thrax interrupted. His voice was weak but urgent. "It's cover. They are preparing for harvest." Before Ryan could understand, the sound of marching boots echoed from the corridor behind them. A new squad of soldiers appeared, but their armor was different. Darker, heavier, marked with the same glowing pattern as Thrax's veins. Their helmets had no visors. Their eyes glowed red beneath the glass. Ryan raised his rifle. "Those aren't ours." Thrax shook his head slowly. "No, they're not even alive." The soldiers opened fire. Bright energy bolts filled the corridor. Ryan dove behind a broken console, returning fire with sharp bursts. Sparks filled the air. He hit one soldier, but instead of bleeding, the figure sparked and collapsed, wires spilling out from under the armor. "Drones," Ryan muttered. "They're sending drones disguised as soldiers." Thrax reached out weakly. "You must show them the truth before they erase the feed." "What feed?" "The live broadcast. It's still recording everything." Ryan's mind raced. The live feed wasn't cut. It was looping, showing only the assassination moment. Someone had hijacked it to hide the rest. He grabbed Thrax's data wristband and ripped it off. "You want the truth out? Then we'll send it together." As the last drone lunged at them, Ryan fired point blank. The blast sent both of them crashing against the metal wall. Sparks showered around them. The camera drones that had been filming the treaty hovered back into the room, blinking red, reconnected to the main network. Billions of viewers suddenly saw Ryan and Thrax standing in the smoke-filled corridor, surrounded by wreckage and burning drones. Ryan stared directly into the nearest camera and said, "This isn't an assassination, this is a setup." The screen cut to static again, and across the galaxy, panic began to spread. The peace station was no longer peaceful. After the explosion, half of the lights were dead. The air smelled like burned circuits, and emergency sirens echoed down every corridor. The once grand halls now looked like the ruins of war. Ryan Hale moved through the smoke, his rifle steady, his heartbeat louder than the alarms. The alien commander Thrax was still barely conscious, lying against a broken pillar. Every few seconds, the station's power flickered, like a heartbeat that refused to stop. But what scared Ryan most was not the damage. It was the silence that followed. Every communication channel was dead. No radio signals, no data pings, no broadcasts. The entire galactic network had gone offline. Ryan pressed his earpiece. "Command, this is Hale. Do you copy? We've got a breach and multiple hostiles. Static." He switched channels. Nothing, not even noise. It was as if someone had turned off the galaxy. Thrax's voice broke the quiet. "They're cutting the lines. One by one." Ryan turned sharply. "Who's they?" Thrax struggled to breathe. "The architects. They've waited for this day. For a long time." Ryan frowned. "You mean the treaty was their plan?" Thrax nodded weakly. "A show for the people. While they start the real operation." Ryan crouched beside him. "You've got 60 seconds before you pass out again. Tell me what's happening." Thrax's blue eyes glowed faintly under the flickering lights. "You humans, you think you joined the Alliance, but you were never guests, you were..." The experiment. Ryan froze. "Experiment?" Before Thrax could answer, the floor beneath them rumbled. Metal plates shook. The ceiling panels cracked open, revealing cables that writhed like snakes. The station AI's voice came online, cold, broken, emotionless. "Containment breach detected. Level 0 clearance required." Ryan looked up. The cables began to spark, and from inside the walls, drones started crawling out. Not attack drones, but observers. Round, glass-bodied machines that hovered silently, lenses glowing red. They didn't shoot. They watched. Hundreds of them. Ryan lifted his weapon. "They're not attacking." Thrax coughed. "They don't need to. They're recording." The drones floated closer, circling Ryan and Thrax like vultures around prey. One of them projected a holographic screen into the air. It showed the same moment again, Thrax attacking Ryan on stage over and over. The assassination attempt. Nothing else. "They're looping the broadcast," Ryan said quietly. "They want the galaxy to think you're the villain." Thrax managed a faint smile. "And you, the hero." Perfect story. The realization hit Ryan like a bullet. This wasn't just a political event. It was propaganda, a setup to start a galactic war, with humans as the righteous victims and Zarians as the traitors. Ryan smashed one of the drones with his rifle butt. "Who gains from this?" Thrax whispered. "The ones who built both of us." Ryan's face hardened. "Built?" Thrax nodded. "The architects made your kind, and mine. Soldiers for their eternal wars." Before Ryan could reply, the AI voice returned. "Purge sequence initiated. Organic evidence disposal in progress." The corridor doors slammed shut. A loud hiss filled the air, gas venting from the walls, white and cold. Ryan pulled his mask on and yanked Thrax up. The alien groaned in pain, but Ryan didn't stop. They stumbled through the hallway, dodging the drones that tracked their every move. Ryan spotted a service shaft and kicked it open. "Move!" He pushed Thrax inside and followed, sliding down into the dark maintenance tunnels below the main deck. Down here it was even quieter. No lights, no alarms, just dripping pipes and the faint hum of the station's dying reactor. Ryan pulled out the data band he'd taken from Thrax earlier. The small device pulsed faintly, still active. He linked it to his wrist display. The screen flickered to life and displayed strange coordinates written in alien script. "What's this?" Ryan asked. Thrax's voice was faint. "The proof. The truth they tried to erase. A list of the worlds they've already harvested." Ryan scrolled through the data. Names appeared. Earth was on the list. His throat tightened. They're coming for us next. Thrax nodded slowly. Not coming. Already here. The lights above them flickered again, and in the reflection of the metal wall, Ryan saw red eyes glowing in the dark, hundreds of them moving closer. The silence was over. Hell was about to begin. Deep inside the maintenance tunnels, Ryan Hale's flashlight flickered like a heartbeat. The air was thick, filled with the smell of smoke and melted steel. Every sound, every echo felt alive. Behind him, Commander Thrax leaned against the wall, struggling to breathe, his wounds glowing faintly blue under the dim light. Ryan checked his pulse monitor. Still stable, barely. Stay with me, he muttered. You're not dying on me yet. Thrax gave a faint smile. Humans, always trying to save those they don't understand. Ryan looked at him. Maybe because we've been misunderstood too many times. He turned a corner and stopped. Ahead of them was a locked steel hatch marked Restricted Level 0. The same level the AI had mentioned earlier, containment breach detected. Level 0 clearance required. Ryan's gut twisted. Whatever was behind this door wasn't meant to be seen. He used Thrax's wristband to override the lock. The door hissed open and a cold light spilled out. The room inside looked nothing like the rest of the station. It was clean, white, silent. A lab rows of glass pods lined the walls, filled with blue mist. Inside each pod floated something human-like, but not human. They were clones, dozens of them. Soldiers with perfect builds, motionless eyes, and identical faces. Ryan stepped closer, his reflection warping on the glass. The clone inside looked exactly like him. Same jawline, same scars, same everything. He froze. What is this? Thrax's voice was hoarse. Proof. The architects never planned peace. They built you for war. Ryan felt the floor tilt beneath his feet. That's impossible. I was born in Virginia. I had parents. Thrax nodded weakly. Maybe they believed that too. Ryan turned to him, anger and disbelief in his eyes. You're saying my entire life was designed, Thrax finished. Just like mine. Two species, created to fight each other, so the architects can rule what's left. The sound of machinery hummed behind them. Ryan turned toward a console at the far end of the room. Its screen blinked with a strange symbol. A circle with 3 lines inside, pulsing like a heartbeat. Thrax whispered, "That's their mark." Ryan tapped the console. The screen unlocked, revealing a list of planets, operations, and subjects. At the top of the screen was a file labeled Project Oblivion. He opened it. The file showed a series of human DNA blueprints. Hybrid models marked with Zarion signatures. Experiments mixing alien and human genes. The final line sent chills down his spine. Phase 3, Earth integration, launch approved. Ryan stared in silence. The architects weren't coming to invade Earth. They were already using it as a testing ground. Before he could copy the data, the AI's cold voice filled the room. Unauthorized access detected. Security protocol activated. The pod lights turned red. One by one, the clone's eyes flickered open. Ryan grabbed Thrax. "We need to go. Now!" But the exit door slammed shut. A heavy alarm began to pulse through the room. The clones stepped out of their pods, moving perfectly in sync, their expressions blank. Their skin shimmered faintly, metallic beneath the surface. Thrax tried to stand, clutching his chest. They're prototypes. Controlled by the station core. Ryan raised his rifle. Not for long, the first clone charged. Ryan fired 3 quick shots. Each hit clean, but the clone didn't fall. It just kept coming. He slammed it into a wall, smashed its head against the glass until it cracked. Sparks flew. The creature fell twitching. "Go! Move!" Ryan yelled, dragging Thrax toward the emergency vent at the back of the lab. He ripped off the cover and pushed the alien inside first. Behind them, more clones were waking up, their red eyes glowing brighter, their footsteps echoing in rhythm. Ryan crawled in after Thrax just as the AI's voice whispered again. Closer this time, as if it was breathing behind his ear. "You cannot hide from your design. Commander Hale." The vent door sealed behind them. The tunnel tilted upward, leading to the upper deck. Ryan's hands trembled, his mind spinning. His own face, cloned in glass, haunted his thoughts. As they climbed, Thrax said weakly, "Now you know the truth." Ryan didn't answer. He looked back at the glowing lab below them, and for the first time he wasn't sure if he was a man anymore, or just one more weapon waiting to be used. The narrow vent rattled as Ryan Hale crawled through, the echoes of the lab still ringing in his mind. Behind him, Thrax breathed heavily, the alien's armor scraping against the metal walls. The tunnel felt endless, twisting upward toward a faint red light. Every movement sounded too loud in the silence. Ryan's voice was low but sharp. "You knew this was happening all along, didn't you?" Thrax coughed weakly. "I suspected, but even I didn't know the scale. I thought they only copied my soldiers. I never knew they copied you too." Ryan's grip tightened around his rifle. The word copied echoed in his head. His reflection, his clones, his DNA on that screen. Every truth he'd believed about his life now felt like a lie. They reached a hatch at the top of the shaft. Ryan kicked it open and climbed out into a dark control chamber filled with glowing screens. The room was abandoned, but the displays were alive, showing fragments of the live broadcast from earlier, the same loop of Thrax attacking him. "Still running," Ryan muttered. "They're feeding the galaxy lies." He looked closer. Something in the background caught his eye. Strange flashes of light patterns repeating during the broadcast replay. Morse-like signals hidden in plain sight. He squinted. "Wait, that's code." Ryan quickly connected Thrax's databand to the console. Streams of alien symbols ran across the screen. He decoded them slowly, one by one, until words appeared. Coordinates: Jupiter orbit, Station Epsilon, Project Oblivion main core. Ryan exhaled. "They've got a main base near Jupiter. That's where the command signal's coming from." Thrax nodded grimly. "That's where they control everything. The clones, the propaganda, even the AI in this station." Ryan clenched his jaw. "Then that's where we end it." He opened the comms channel again. Still dead. No network. He checked the external signal relay and frowned. The blackout wasn't an accident. Someone's jamming all communications from inside this station. He started typing fast, overriding safety locks, rerouting power from the emergency grid. Sparks flew as he worked. "If I can't stop the signal, I'll hijack it." Thrax leaned against a console, his energy fading. "You'd use the broadcast?" Ryan nodded. "Exactly. If they're showing the galaxy a lie, I'll give them the truth." The screen flickered again, endless rows of data, faces, genetic codes. Every file marked human subject. Series 1. The architects hadn't just created soldiers. They'd created generations of humans, spreading them quietly across planets, disguised as natural populations. Thrax's voice broke the silence. "Do you understand what this means? You are not the first. You are just the latest design." Ryan looked at him, anger rising. "Maybe, but I'm the one who can still choose." He hit the final command. The system sparked, lights turning red as the AI's voice returned, cold and emotionless. "Unauthorized override. Broadcast integrity compromised." Ryan smirked. "Good." He pressed send. All across the galaxy, screens glitched for a moment. Then the truth appeared. The looping assassination feed vanished, replaced by real footage from the restricted lab. Billions of people watched. As the image of the clones appeared, endless rows of identical human soldiers, their eyes lifeless, their movements synchronized. Gasps filled newsrooms. Panic spread. Entire worlds saw what the architects had been hiding. Ryan stood in front of the camera drone that hovered near the console, his face calm but fierce. "This is Commander Ryan Hale," he said firmly. "The truth you've been watching is a lie. They made us. They made me. And they will come for you next." Before he could finish, the AI voice screamed through the speakers, "Broadcast breach detected, termination sequence initiated." The floor shook, panels exploded, energy waves burst through the station. Thrax shouted, "You've done it! They'll come for us now." Ryan pulled him toward the exit. "Good. Let them. It's time someone fought back." The corridor ahead collapsed, sending sparks and fire across the ceiling. Ryan grabbed a nearby emergency shuttle control and slammed his palm on the launch pad. "We're not dying here," he growled. The floor dropped, and the pod shot into space just as the station exploded behind them. Through the window, Ryan watched the broadcast continue, his face now seen by every world in the galaxy. The truth was out, but in the silence of the cockpit, one thought haunted him. If he wasn't human, what was he going to fight for now? The escape pod streaked through the blackness of space like a falling ember. Inside, Ryan Hale gripped the pilot's controls, sweat running down his temple. Behind him, Commander Thrax sat silent, his breathing ragged but steady. Outside the window, the wreck of the Mars Peace Station burned, its metal pieces drifting like dying stars. Ryan's broadcast had gone live. The truth was out. But truth had a price. "Signal loss confirmed," Thrax muttered weakly, looking at the fading glow of the destroyed station. "They'll know what you did, Hale." Ryan kept his eyes on the nav screen. "Good. I want them to." Thrax frowned. "You've just declared war against gods." Ryan's lips tightened. "Then we'll remind them what humans do when gods try to play with us." The pod's alarm beeped. A red warning blinked. "Incoming transmission override." Ryan's heart skipped. "They found us already?" A deep, synthetic voice filled the cabin, the same cold tone from the AI before. "Commander Hale, you cannot escape your function." Static buzzed. The pod's systems went dark. Thrax looked around nervously. "They've taken control of the ship." Ryan slammed his hand on the emergency panel, rerouting manual control. The pod shook violently, spiraling out of orbit until it plunged into Jupiter's shadow. Below them floated a massive structure hidden beneath the planet's storms. Station Epsilon, the main core of Project Oblivion. An enormous metallic ring rotated slowly, its surface covered in lights and weapon arrays. It was more fortress than station, a city built for war. Ryan stared at it through the window. "That's where this ends." The pod slammed into the docking bay, sliding to a stop. Smoke rose from the hull. Ryan unstrapped himself and handed Thrax a plasma pistol. "You can barely stand," Ryan said. "Stay behind me." Thrax chuckled weakly. "You humans never learn, always running into the fire." Ryan smirked. "That's how we light the way." The hatch blew open with a hiss. The corridor beyond glowed with cold blue lights. Rows of armored drones stood waiting, motionless. For a heartbeat, there was silence. Then their eyes lit up. "Red." "Contact," Ryan said flatly. The drones opened fire. Blue plasma bolts tore through the air. Ryan dove behind a cargo crate, returning fire with sharp bursts. Sparks exploded across the walls. Thrax crouched beside him, firing steady, calculated shots. One by one, drones fell, their metal bodies sparking as they hit the ground. But for every one they dropped, 2 more replaced it. "Too many," Thrax shouted. Ryan threw a grenade. "Then we make a hole." The blast ripped through the corridor, sending a shockwave down the deck. Smoke filled the air. Through the haze, Ryan spotted an elevator shaft leading upward toward the command level. He grabbed Thrax by the arm and pulled him forward. They climbed into the lift. The doors slammed shut. For a brief moment, silence returned, until the AI's voice whispered again, all around them. "You were designed to obey, Ryan Hale. Do you think you are free?" Ryan glared at the glowing walls. "I'm human. That's all the freedom I need." Incorrect, the voice replied coldly. You are the prototype. The elevator stopped suddenly. The doors opened, and Ryan froze. The room ahead was enormous, a control hall filled with thousands of suspended pods. Inside, each one floated a human soldier identical to him. Their eyes were closed, their bodies glowing faintly. The sight hit him like a knife to the chest. Thrax whispered, "They've been building your army." Ryan's jaw clenched. "Not my army. Theirs." Before he could react, alarms blared. The pods began to open one by one. Steam hissed. The clones stepped out in perfect unison, eyes burning with cold light. Ryan raised his weapon. "So, this is what I am?" Thrax gripped his own pistol. "No, this is what they made you. The question is, what will you make yourself?" The clones moved as one, charging forward. Ryan roared, firing non-stop. Plasma bolts tore through metal and flesh. The air filled with smoke and screams of machinery. Thrax joined the fight, his energy weapon burning holes through the floor. Every shot, every strike, every explosion echoed across the massive hall. Ryan fought like a storm unleashed, fast, furious, relentless. Each clone that fell reminded him that he was different, because he chose to fight back. Finally, as the last of the clones collapsed, the command console sparked to life again. The AI's voice returned, broken, but still mocking. "You cannot destroy the design, Commander Hale. You are the design." Ryan stepped closer to the console, blood and smoke on his face. "Then I'll rewrite it." He slammed his hand on the core control. The screen flashed red. System override detected. Manual command, purge initiated. Alarm screamed. Flames burst across the hall. The entire station began to shake. Thrax stared at him. "You'll blow it up, with you inside." Ryan smiled faintly. "That's the point." The ceiling started collapsing as they ran for the emergency exit. Fire lit up the corridors. Behind them, thousands of pods exploded, releasing white light that tore through the station. As they reached the launch bay, Thrax shouted over the roar, "You're insane, human." Ryan looked back one last time at the burning holes. "No," he said quietly, "just done being someone else's creation." They jumped into the escape ship. And behind them, Station Epsilon erupted in flames, lighting the darkness of Jupiter's shadow. The silence of space returned slowly, like a deep breath after a scream. From the edge of Jupiter's shadow, a small escape craft drifted alone, the only survivor of Station Epsilon's fiery end. Inside, smoke filled the air, alarms blinked red, and sparks fell from broken panels. Ryan Hale sat in the pilot seat, blood on his forehead, hands trembling as he forced the controls to respond. Beside him, Commander Thrax leaned against the wall. Half conscious, his armor cracked and glowing faintly blue. Outside the window, the explosion spread across the darkness like a second sunrise. Fragments of the massive station floating away, burning in silence. The galaxy had just lost its most secret weapon. Thrax opened one eye and looked at him weakly. "You did it, human. You destroyed it." Ryan shook his head. "Not yet. The architects still have other stations. This was just the command core." Thrax exhaled slowly. "Then what now? You can't fight gods with one ship." Ryan's gaze hardened. "No, but I can warn the people they've been lying to." He turned to the control panel. The systems were half dead, but one beacon still worked. The Galactic broadcast relay. It was weak, but enough to send one final message across the stars. He began typing, fingers shaking but determined. The console flickered. A faint hum filled the ship. Thrax frowned. "You plan to broadcast again? After everything?" Ryan nodded. "If I die, I want them to remember why." The ship's AI, half damaged, came online with a broken voice. "Warning, reactor unstable. Core breach imminent." Ryan ignored it. "Just give me 2 minutes." He positioned the ship to face the nearest transmission satellite. Static filled the screen as he activated the final broadcast channel. A camera drone rose from the floor, its lens focusing on him, battered, bloodied, but unbroken. Across the galaxy, screens flickered to life again. News feeds, civilian terminals, military command hubs. Billions of beings who had seen the false assassination months ago now saw his face again, this time without filters or lies. Ryan looked into the camera. His voice was steady but heavy with truth. "This is Commander Ryan Hale, or what's left of him." He paused, the silence almost painful. "You've all been told I was the hero who stopped an alien killer. But the truth is worse, much worse." He took a deep breath. "They made us, humans, Zarians, all of us. The architects built our species to fight wars we never chose. They called it Project Oblivion, and it's still running." The transmission crackled. Flame sparked behind him, but he kept going. "They want you to hate each other, to fight, to destroy yourselves. Because as long as you do, they stay in control. But I've seen what happens when we stop fighting." He looked at Thrax, who nodded faintly from the corner. "This man tried to kill me once, because they told him I was the enemy. I saved him anyway, and he saved me. That's what they can't program. That's what they can't clone." The ship shook violently. The alarm screamed louder. "Core breach in 60 seconds. Ryan's voice grew stronger. "If you can hear this, don't believe their peace, and don't believe their war. Believe your own eyes. Stand together, or there won't be anything left to stand on." He looked directly into the camera one last time. "And if the architects are watching," he said softly, "then know this. You built me to follow orders, but I was human enough to break them." He pressed the transmit key. The signal pulsed across the galaxy, unstoppable. The feed spread faster than light, reaching every colony, every ship, every world. The truth could never be erased now. Thrax's voice was weak. "You're going to die for this." Ryan smiled faintly. "No, I'm going to live in every signal that reaches them." The reactor flared bright white. The camera feed filled with static, then silence. Hours later, across distant worlds, people stared at their screens in shock. Some wept, some cheered, some refused to believe, but all of them had heard the same final words. "You built me to follow orders, but I was human enough to break them." In that moment, Ryan Hale, the man who defied gods, became more than human. He became a legend. And somewhere in the endless dark between stars, the architects began to tremble.